Hello and welcome to Meet Our Makers, an artist interview podcast produced in association with Beats Per Minute. I'm your host, Jeremy J. Facette. On this episode, we get to meet Swedish singer-songwriter Perro Del Mar, aka Sarah Assbring. Sarah is certainly best known for her Perro Del Mar moniker. She has been releasing music under that name for years now, and she has just put out her latest studio album called Big Anonymous on City Slang Records. In this chat, Sarah and I talk quite at length about Big Anonymous. It's a really enveloping world that she's crafted here on this album, and it felt like there was just sort of endless things to talk about with it. We get into the making of the record, the somewhat dark, sad, and personal themes and experiences behind it, as well as the theatrical origin of it, and also how it wound up being a bit more therapeutic to make than she really ever thought it would be. We talk about the subtle ways in which her music has become more political and pointed, as well as some of her lyrical techniques and how she constructs songs the way she does. We talk about how Perro Del Mar has shapeshifted a bit over time, how she feels about life and her work these days, the pull between doing what people might want from her and just being the natural contrarian that she is, as well as the peculiar but oddly fitting choice to include a Burt Bacharach cover on this album. It's weird, but it works. We also talk about a lot more. It was a lovely chat with a super talented artist who I've been following for years, and it was such a pleasure to get to talk with her. So thank you for listening. Hope you enjoy. This is me meeting Perro Del Mar. Sarah, how are you?
Hi, Jeremy. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming around and hanging out for a little bit today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I was excited to invite you because it's been a minute since the last record. So now here we are. We should say right off the top, the main reason for this occasion is that there is a new Perro Del Mar record coming out called Big Anonymous. It is coming out February 16th. On City Slang, your new home, right?
Right.
New label home. So this is the first full-length record in quite a few years. I think I'm correct in saying it's been 5 or 6 years since Kokoro came out.
That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So now I know you've been busy since then doing a lot of other things that weren't necessarily albums, but how are you sort of feeling in this space now with a actual record coming out right on the horizon?
I feel very happy. It is like you said. It's been a while though. I've made mini albums since Kokoro, but it feels really, really good to see this coming out. It's been lying waiting for a while, and it's strange because it feels, even though that it has been sort of ready to be released for a while, it feels like time seems to have no really hand on this record, and I think it's because it's a quite special album. I really feel like it's one of my best albums, so I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, and it is a different kind of album for you, at least from what most of us would expect from you. Although I don't know why we expect anything from Perro Del Mar anymore.
Right.
Which is kind of the fun, though, right? Like this record, you know, if the last thing people heard from you was Kokoro, they wouldn't necessarily be expecting this kind of sonic palette, this kind of sound palette, or type of songwriting.
True. That's true.
But that's kind of part of the fun, though. It's like, you know, it's been a few years and this is what it sounds like now.
Yeah, right. I mean, for me, if you missed the mini albums that I released after Kokoro, I think there is a logic to the development, I think. But for sure, there is definitely there is a new thing going on about this album. Absolutely. I decided to really dive into the to the depths of this dark existential questions, really. And I had to do it this kind of way, I feel like, without holding back anything of, sentiments or fears of being too dark. It really had to go that far.
Yeah, and you say this record's been sort of ready for a while. I understand that it had origins a few years back in a performance piece that you were sort of commissioned for. Can you sort of give us a little summary of the gestation and the sort of the beginnings of the album and how we got to what we'll be hearing now in February?
Yeah, exactly. It was written for the stage, and I think that is part of why it sounds like it does, or why I decided to write music or my songs in that kind of way. I think there was an opportunity to make something for the stage, for the Royal Dramatic Theatre in Stockholm, and I just knew that I had this in mind. I knew that I had this idea that I wanted to make something like this. I wanted to make something about death, and I had the opportunity to do it as a dance performance. And then, more or less, I just came to them with this idea, and I just had more or less 100% freedom to do whatever I wanted. And so I just took the chance, and also kind of without fear, just totally just threw myself into it. And that is also, I feel like, part of why Big Anonymous sounds the way it does. It even though I see the album as a completely separate thing to the stage performance, it has, of course, that kind of daredevil kind of feel that I had when I wrote the music. And so, yes, it was staged 2019, and then the pandemic struck just
right
after we had the performances. And then I knew that I had to record it and make an album of it. And then that was made as a totally separate thing, even though me and the musicians had the music within us, having performed it already. So the whole record is recorded live, from beginning to end.
Oh, wow.
And I feel like that is also very much part of the way that it sounds. And I think also for me, as in the way that I feel about this album, as unique as it feels for me, I think that is also to do with how we recorded it. There is a certain presence there that is hard to describe, really. It's for me, it's almost kind of like there is a presence of something unexplainable there, so yeah, it's a special recording.
Yeah, I had not realized that it was recorded live, and I was listening to it earlier today. And that's, I mean, that's kind of amazing given the scope and the depth of some of the sounds and the effects and just the way it all flowed like that. That is boggling my mind.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah. No, but I know it's there was something really special about the recording. I had the opportunity to work with a sound engineer whose name is Daniel Raymer, and he had this idea of recording it all live and using microphones set up in different places. We recorded in an old torpedo factory in Stockholm.
Oh, wow.
Which had a lot of different rooms and very high ceilings. And so we set up tons of different microphones that could pick up sounds from almost anywhere while we were playing. And then we chose between the different ambiances and the different, natural reverbs and everything that was around. And so everything's kind of run through different layers of just various microphones, and then just kind of played around with, more or less.
I mean, on the one hand, that's maybe not so surprising too, though, because it does have such a specific sense of space and of,
Yeah.
like it's very enveloping. I mean, I wrote in my notes
Mm.
as I was listening that the production on this record feels like so much more of a main character than maybe any other El Perro Del Mar
Yeah.
record.
Yeah. No.
Which is not, not to negate songwriting or performance, but I feel like
Mm.
never before on your records has the actual producing of the sound felt so
Mm.
vital.
I agree. I totally agree. I think it's because having done it in this kind of sort of backwards kind of way that
Mm-hmm.
we performed it live first. That's really, for me, I've never done that before. But it was, I mean, in the end, I feel extremely lucky that that was done in that kind of way, because having the music within us in that kind of way is, when we recorded the album, is such a amazing thing to be able to do. And then also recording it live, which is new for me. And somehow I feel like, why didn't I do it sooner? Because I'm so used to being really nerdy and really a perfectionist, working with tons of you know recording my vocals in a really really anal kind of way. And this
Mm-hmm.
time I was doing one takes, and that having that kind of focus and presence, working with that kind of presence, was a really amazing feeling.
And you mentioned when you were composing it initially, a lot of the inspiration came from those existential questions about death.
Mm.
Are there other themes sort of operating here? I guess I'm wondering, like, what compelled you to this point for Big Anonymous?
What compelled me was really a very, very kind of personal need in me that I had. I'd lost two close family members throughout the years, and I really kind of felt that I there was something with me that I couldn't really shake, the feeling of needing some feel of reconciliation, and yeah, of reconciliation, really. There was something following me, almost like I felt like I was haunted.
Hmm.
And the reason why I felt like, when I had the opportunity to write this as a stage performance, I just felt like maybe this will be it for me. Maybe if I had the chance to do this, maybe this will be the way that I can sort of fabricate this scenery where I can have these conversations with someone who's not here anymore, ask questions that I want to ask, and have this person who's not here with me, or the persons who are not here with me anymore, have them ask or say the things that I thought I'm thinking maybe that they would say, or
Mm-hmm.
or what they want to say to me, and that revolves like personal things that were within our relationships, but also, I guess, my thoughts on death. Really, what is
Mm-hmm.
death? What is there? What's in the afterlife? Is there an afterlife? Are you still there? Will I be there? Um, so an extreme personal need that I had to kind of I had to really do this
Yeah.
to kind of feel like I could move on. So it's I think of it as a journey into the underworld. Um,
Mm.
really,
Is death the Big Anonymous? Is that kind of what that title is pointing to?
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
So in the past, I mean, I kind of mentioned this already, that you've dabbled in a lot of different stylistic realms. Sort of poppier realms, folkier realms. Kokoro is very world music influenced and
Mm.
sort of ancient folk music influenced. Um,
Hmm.
so were those themes then what kind of drove you to this sonic palette, or was it more the other way around?
I think I always work very. I think my way of working is always that I react against something, and it's always been that way. Ever since my debut album, it was a very clear reaction against what I felt was my first identity as a musician, and I felt like I had come into a halt, and I couldn't really go anywhere with it, and I just had to kind of just break it all down and just part with everything that I had done previously in music, and then just start all over, really, really dadaistically, and almost kind of not using my natural singing voice to kind of free myself. And with Kokoro, I had just had a baby, and I tried to kind of get back into the idea of making pop music again. And I felt like, I felt like my idea was that we had started to come into this ultra commercial world that we're totally into now. That is just a natural world we live in now. But for me, I just felt like what I saw happening back then in 2015, sort of, when I was writing that, I just felt like I can't be part of this. So it was really kind of a reaction against commercialism, ultra commercialism, and a kind of political stance as well. And I just started listening to pop music that I felt was extremely poppy music, but that had nothing to do with commercialism or business or industry, music industry. So for me, I just wanted to make my sort of new pop music that I had like experienced or found, that I find when I traveled around YouTube, really. I wanted to have this kind of a real kind of globalized idea of what music can be, that is not Western at all. So that's what I was trying to do. So it was a reaction.
Yeah. And now, Big Anonymous comes around, and it's almost ambient at times. I would never, I mean, maybe you would disagree with me. I don't think I'd call it a pop record.
No.
I mean, there are some moments that are, a little bit more beat driven or more upbeat, the cover song for one, but it's all within the same universe of itself. So I feel like, this is not the pop record.
It's not a pop record,
which is okay.
Absolutely. I hope it's okay. I mean, that's how I feel. I hope that my presence and my lyrics still can convey some sort of, if not pop, then at least some kind of something that ties it together, that makes it, that ties it together to kind of give the feeling, at least, of something that pop music in some kind of way, at least.
Well, I mean,
but yeah, it's alien for sure.
One of the things that I've always appreciated a lot about El Perro Del Mar, from a songwriting point of view, is even at your, quote unquote poppiest or catchiest or most, whatever radio friendly sound you've had, you still have this sort of, I don't know what to call it, but you're lyrically you focus a lot on motif and repetition and sort of finding those phrases, or maybe it's just one verse and you kind of just cycle it and try to maybe reveal a little bit more from it each time. And I am curious, is that always how you've written songs? Is that just sort of come naturally to you? Because that's not actually like what most mainstream pop does. Like, yes, pop is repetitious, but a lot of your songs, some of your best songs, I think even it's just a few lines,
Yeah, right.
And that's always been one of those tricks, I guess, or tools of yours that I've always appreciated.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that I think it was very important for me when I came up with my songwriting technique. It was at the time when I started writing music under my name, El Perro Del Mar, or what became El Perro Del Mar, really. I had no idea it would become El Perro Del Mar, but I started writing this kind of music or lyrics after having been silent for almost a year and not making music at all, and not singing, which I've always done before. I'd always been singing, but I just turned mute. And then I felt like when I slowly started like getting closer to an instrument, like when I started to really kind of daring to come closer to an instrument and started playing, I felt like I'm opening my mouth when I have something important to say, and only then will I open my mouth. And so I just kind of, especially when I started playing the guitar, I just played the same chord, structure over and over and over in a very kind of autistic kind of way. I guess I have that kind of thing about me, but it also had this kind of really important meaning to me, that it had to be a kind of comforting, consoling importance. And I guess that's what it is about. I guess the whole motif, repetitious thing. I have to, until it doesn't hurt anymore, or until I'm consoled, I can stop repeating it. And it also goes back to me having grown up, I think, with blues. My father played a lot of blues music, like really old blues musicians to me, like Robert Johnson and Muddy Waters, and I think I kind of got that from that. I understood it as a way of kind of consoling, comforting, exorcism, if you want. And I think for me, I realize that this is my technique. It's a deep psychological thing for me, because it means a lot to me, and it's the only natural way for me to be true, I think, to my songwriting. And if I done it in any other way, it wouldn't feel true, I think. So it's the way that I do it. And I also, of course, I was crazy about Spaceman 3 and spirituality. So it also kind of cemented that back then, also in that kind of way. But I guess that also goes back to the blues tradition.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So let's get into some of the songs. Yeah, I found it interesting a few minutes ago when you mentioned how you were maybe trying to go against, with Kokoro anyway, you were trying to go against the sort of Western idea of pop music. And then here with Big Anonymous, as of the date we're recording this anyway, the single from the record is In Silence.
Yeah.
Which is not poppy at all. And is actually one of the slowest, spaciest songs on the album. It did kind of tickle me that was the lead single.
The first single.
Yeah. How did that choice? Why did that one make sense to usher us into this world?
I'm glad I have I have a record label that agrees with me. That we seem to be really much in agreement with this, like with every decision that we make. And I think actually that perhaps the choice of single was theirs, the first single, and I was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, as this is a story, this is a journey, as I said. I think that in that way, it kind of still holds on to the performance thing, because it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so the record, from beginning to end, tells this story. It's the hero's journey, sort of. And In Silence is part of the first act. And so you have to kind of, to have the listener understand the story, you have to kind of start from the beginning. And so I think that was a huge part of why we chose to have In Silence be the first single. You have to, like, what is this about? And I also was really kind of excited by, having, not made like you said, an album in a while. I felt like it was a really good way to kind of start coming back with the first sentence. What's so important about time? So that's kind of what I felt like was really like tingling, to kind of like, what's so important about time?
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but that was what I was thinking. It was a little bit of a fun thing. But also, I'm a contrary person, so I like to kind of startle people.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Silence was the first single, but we did hear in a different form a few years back the Please Stay Burt Bacharach cover. Which I didn't know this until the other day, but made popular mostly by the Drifters decades ago. So it does seem from the outside like a peculiar choice for this record, or even for a record that sounds like this, or it doesn't really sound like a peculiar choice for an El Perro Del Mar record, but for this one, I was like, oh wow, that's like a surprising choice. And then I got to it, and it does kind of make sense to me. So how did you know, because you had already done this song, how did you know like this one had to be on the record? Why does it fit here?
Yeah, because this song was actually what got me into doing this whole work, this whole performance, and this whole album. This was I was totally in love with that version, and I started thinking about, what if this is not a love song? What if this is not a traditional love song? What if this is someone actually begging someone who's dead not to leave, or someone who's about to die not to leave? What if this is about, life or death? And so this was actually the starting point of the whole writing of the music for this album and for the performance. So it is it really kind of encapsulates everything about the whole album. I feel like it's the kind of timelessness that I feel like is part of El Perro Del Mar. I think what I've always been in love with, like the 50s, 60s, very kind of romantic sound, that I really just, that poppy sound that I am so in love with and always will be. And then I just felt like, what if I turn this whole sound and this whole idea into something that is quite morbid, and then this whole idea just continued and kind of developed out of that.
And it's funny too, because sorry, go ahead.
No, so Please Stay is kind of the center of everything in this album. How
I was just gonna say, I think it's funny too that it, the Drifters version and older pop music like that, kind of the girl group style, that's kind of in your version for a moment, like it is there. And the beginning of the cover on Big Anonymous, it sounds almost like this warped tape from decades ago,
right?
And then it kind of gets ushered back into the now. So yeah, that was an interesting contrast.
Yeah, it's being dragged. Exactly. It's in the underworld. It's in the underworld. It's being played in the underworld, and it's being distorted by the hands of death somehow.
It's almost like very darkly funny that that this song is being like subverted into being about something totally different and totally serious too.
Yeah. But I mean, I felt like that because it's also kind of the relationship that I've always had with Burt Bacharach's music. I remember when I was younger and I couldn't really understand his music, I was really like, this is so cheesy and sugary and has nothing to do with real life, until I kind of understood, the meanings behind it. And I understood that, yes, there is something else going on here. And that's also why I really came to really appreciate Burt Bacharach's music. And that's also why I feel like I didn't hear the Drifters version until quite, later on. And then I really kind of like, oh, wow, someone really got this. I think it was Joe Meek who produced that song, which is kind of, it's also quite telling, because it has this kind of really bizarreness into it, this lynchy kind of air to it, which I'm totally in love with as well. So,
yeah, I can see the slightly Lynchian aspect of some of these songs, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
The other song I wanted to touch on was Between You and Me Nothing. Because there was one line that stuck out, which I think is the refrain. It's not you haunting me, it's my mind disturbing peace. And that made me realize something like, oh, a lot of this album is about these cycles of being haunted, both by people who've passed away, but also just by our interests and our passions and the memories that we can't forget. And how do you think have these cycles of being haunted by something always intrigued you? And because I feel like that's kind of a universal truth, that we can all listen to a song like this and say, oh yeah, no, me too.
God, yes, I think that's a really kind of super, super big part of my personality, and sometimes a big problem for me. But I think when I use it in my writing and music, it's a gift, or it's a good thing. I can sort of transcend it into something else. In daily life, it might be a problem, and especially when it comes to this subject, when it comes to grief and letting go. Also, I have this tendency to kind of, I'm a sucker for melancholy. I really kind of, I really, I love the feeling of being touched, and being, feeling like I get this higher sense of being alive when I get that feeling. So that's also part of, I feel like, the replaying, I think, of sentiments.
Well, there's something so moving about witnessing human emotion and feeling, the most base level of human emotion. Like I always tell people, and I mean, I don't mean it in the way they always think I do, but like, I kind of love when people cry, because there is something just so beautiful about it and something so moving about it. And that is, there's very few, I think, experiences that are more human feeling than that. I
agree. That was very beautifully put. It brings, immediately it brings you together. It's it's such a extremely like powerful and strong connecting in that. But I feel like with that song, I feel like when it gets to a point where, like with what I felt with the need that I had in me, that I really actually felt like I have a need to say goodbye now. Like I feel like I have to say goodbye to this ghost. And maybe it's like what I said, when it wasn't a real like understanding that maybe it's not you who's haunting me. Maybe I'm the one who's unable to part with you. That's why you're still here. And when that kind of replaying or cycling of emotions tend to kind of become destructive, I just felt like I have to find a way to stop it. And I feel like writing that song kind of made me understand that. I think I understood it as I wrote the song, actually. There are a lot of like feelings that I kind of got to understand or came to terms with writing this album.
It sounds like it was maybe even a little bit more cleansing and therapeutic than you thought it would be.
Definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. I thought maybe it was, because you can go into an idea of writing something that is very, that is going to be very difficult or very personal, because it is a deeper, very much deeper psychological meaning to it than just writing songs. But I also had this, as it was a project very, very much, and I had the deadline, I had to kind of, stay to or stick to. I felt like I was doing a commission, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And I also had to kind of have that kind of professional relation to it. So I've probably kind of distanced myself and just made this commission in the way that I felt like I had to. And I think that maybe I wasn't aware that it would be that powerful.
Yeah.
As it turned out to be.
So we've talked a lot about how much this album feels very much maybe a little bit new, stylistically or thematically even, or structurally. If we look back 20-ish some odd years to the first couple El Perro Del Mar records, what would you say, what have you noticed or felt are some of the biggest differences in you as an artist now versus back in the beginning?
Oh, wow. That's a good question, actually. That's been I've, first of all, so much has happened in my life since then, and also so much has happened to the world since then.
Mm-hmm.
The dreams and the ambitions that I had back then are different to the dreams and ambitions that I have now. I think my idea about making pop music maybe absolutely is one of the biggest. I always thought that I would want to make pop music. But now, since pop music and the industry and the pop music business and the music business has changed so much, I feel like I've drawn more and more towards something more experimental and perhaps not as easy listening as making pop music. I think I want to make something that is closer to art, I think, than just making pop music. When someone asks me what I do or what kind of music I make, I've always said I make pop music. And now when I say that, I feel like it's not true anymore because people's idea of pop music is so much different than it used to be. Yeah. I don't know if that's in my mind, but I think it's true. I think that my idea of what kind of music that I, aspire to do and do at the moment is different than what I thought back then. I've started writing film music, and I've made music for dance and stuff like that. I feel like that is something that I want to do more because it gives me a higher sense of dignity, to be honest, and a higher sense of value for myself. Do
you find it easier to like go with your instinct now than you would have 20 years ago?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I think that definitely, it's a part of aging, I think. And I'm really happy to kind of have, come to that place in my life to feel that.
Yeah.
I've always kind of been intrigued to hear older people say that things do get easier. Some things do get easier, and I think that's, part of like what I feel creatively. I feel like that is true. You have a whole other sense of a fundament, I think, that is just there because you've earned it through years of working. But yeah, it's a tricky question because it entails so much.
I know. It's probably not a totally fair question.
No, but it's a good thing to think about as well, I think, for myself. Yeah.
And you mentioned your film work. I know you've done some film scoring. I actually had in my notes a question towards the end because I always have these random questions as I'm finishing my notes. If this new album was like a score for a film today, like who do you think would be directing that film? Who matches this world?
Oh wow, who matches this? I'm in love with Lars von Trier. I don't know if maybe he could be the person.
That kind of makes sense.
He's not afraid of going to dark places.
God, no.
No.
Michael Haneke, maybe.
Michael Haneke, oh my God, yes. But there is a sort of, I am also making a film to go with the album, and the directors that we mentioned are kind of a big inspiration for that film. So yeah, there is a short film that will be released alongside the album.
I look forward to seeing that because, like, I was wondering, if you could get a scoring job for any filmmaker, like who some of your filmmakers would be that you'd love to score for. But it sounds like maybe we know some. Yeah,
no, there are a ton of different directors that I would love to work with, of course. Yeah.
So with Big Anonymous coming out in February, we'll say it again, February 16th on City Slang. Are there intentions to tour any of this material?
There are, yes, absolutely. Okay. I will be touring.
Do you think it will be tricky to, or maybe you're not going to, sort of blend older material with the newer material?
That's a good question. I haven't really decided yet. I tend to be quite. I usually don't want to blend older stuff because I have this. I'm so much into my world of the current album that I'm touring with or playing, and it usually is quite hard for me to kind of think or see that older material will be part of that. But
yeah.
I also, being a contrary person, I also sometimes have to force myself into not being that and try to give people what they want. And maybe I have to do it this time. I feel like I might have to I have to maybe also please people.
Well, I mean, I know, I get it. This world that you've crafted with Big Anonymous is quite specific in particular.
Yeah, it is.
So you'd probably have to see what would work within it, and that would take some conscious discovering, I suppose.
Exactly, that's what it had to. Yeah, definitely. But I mean, there could be ways to do it that would still not affect the album songs. But I'm still working it out.
Yeah,
we'll see. Yeah,
we'll see. Well, I'm excited for people to hear it. I can attest that it's beautiful. It's very involving. It's a very, like, I think it's about 48 or so minutes long, and I just was like sitting there. I was just sitting there just listening to it because it is very involving. And it's nice sometimes to hear a record that is a whole record, that feels like it should be an album, because kind of to go with some of what you were saying, so much is just the singles now, or the streaming little bits and pieces now. So it's nice to hear an album that gives you a full scope of something.
Right. Yeah. I love that you're saying that. I wasn't consciously thinking like I could have done that, consciously thinking that I have to make an album that is an album, but it was not a conscious decision. The album wanted it in itself, so
yeah,
it was the only way,
Well, the new El Perro Del Mar record, Big Anonymous, is out February 16th on City Slang. Thank you very much, Sarah, for taking some time to hang out today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Take care.
Likewise, you too.